A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and welcome to Monday's class. I hope you're all well. And let me just go through the rules for our class today. I hope that you're signed in with the correct ID and your head is covered and you have done your wuzu and you're sitting in a quiet place with no background noise. Okay, let's go through our agenda today. We will have our opening dua just after this, and at 6:05 we will start our practice text, which is going to be Surah Al-Asr, and it's chapter 103, part 103 in the Holy Quran, and it's got 4 verses. And we will go through the rules and read and recite as well. After that, we will do some practice of our surahs we have done before, and you will choose which surahs you want to recite from. And if you want to, you can recite from your memory as well. At 6:55, we will summarize our lessons. I will do a few of announcements, and after that, I will be assigning homework, and we will do the final dua. Okay, let's start with our opening dua. If I could have a student to the mic, please.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. G2175, please unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum, G2175.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, and jazakumullah for asking. Let's start with Tawzan Tasmiyah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Rabbi shrah li
رب اشرح لي
sadri.
صدري
Yes. Wa yassir li
ويسر لي
amri.
أمري.
Very nicely recited. Do you think you can read the translation just below here?
Okay. Lord, expand my mind and make my task easy for me. Taha 26 to 27.
Very nice. And do you know what this means? Taha 26 and 27.
Is it a surah?
That's a surah. Well done. So this part of our dua is in Surah Taha, and the verses are 26 to 27. Very nicely recited. Jazakumullah G2175. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Okay. I will now try to share my screen. If you could bear with me 1 second. Okay. Support teacher, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. So we will be. Oh, actually. If you could bear with me 1 second again. Okay. Support teacher, can you see my screen with Surah Al-Asr?
No, I can just see a list of all the open PDFs.
Okay.
So if you click on the Surah Asr and then it will open.
Can you see it now?
No. You can stop the screen share and start it again.
I will do that. Can you see it now? Surah Al-Asr?
Not yet.
Okay, support teacher, if you could let me know. Can you see it now?
It just says that you've started the screen share.
Okay, but it's taking a bit long.
It is taking a bit of a while, yeah.
Okay. Do you think you can start the share?
Yes. What do you want me to share?
It's the PowerPoint presentation of Surah Al-Asr.
Okay, I'll start it.
Or actually, let me just share something else. Can you see it now?
I can see the dua.
Okay, I will share it via this. Okay,
PDF. Yeah, I can see this now.
Okay, so we will be doing Surah Al-Asr. I'm really sorry about the disruption. We will be doing Surah Asr today, and we will be having we will be looking at all rules for the correct tilawat. And about Surah Asr, it's in part 30. And sorry, about the Holy Quran, it's got 30 chapters, parts, and it's got 114 chapters, and it's got 6,348 verses and 558 rukus. And Surat Asr is in part 30. Its chapter number is 103, and it has 4 verses, 1 ruku, and it was revealed in Makkah, and the order of revelation is 13. Okay, let's start with our first rule. So the first rule, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The first rule, as you can see, the red circle is the lam sakin. Lam carries a sukoon sign. And we will join the most recent mutaharrik letter and ignore any letters in between. So any letter joining, any letter carrying a sukoon sign, we will be looking at the recent letter which carries any strokes. This will be waw, and it carries a fatha, and we will be ignoring the alif because it doesn't carry any stroke. Let's see what our next rule is. Okay, so our next rule is this ayn. It will be pronounced softly from the middle of your throat, and this sod here is a thick and heavy letter. So you will have to round your mouth a bit when you're pronouncing it. Okay. And we have a pause on the ra, so the kasra becomes a sukoon. And because there is also a sukoon sign on the sod, and the kasra will be changed into a sukoon sign, so sakin follows sakin, which means these two will be joined to each other. Right, so we have the next verse, and in the next verse, the first rule is the noon mushaddad hai, and we will be doing hunna for 2 seconds. So we will be staying on it for 2 seconds. Okay, so the lam sakin here joins the most recent mutaharrik letter, which is the noon here, and the alif will be ignored. So lam sakin here, we will have to look for the most recent letter which carries a stroke. There is an alif there, but it doesn't have any stroke, so it will have to be the noon, which carries a fatha and a mushaddad. So we can actually join this bit to the lam. Okay, and here there is a noon sakin, and we will be doing a nasal sound, and we will be sitting on it for 2 seconds. So we will be prolonging it for 2 seconds. And here we have a alif mad, which means an alif which does not carry any stroke. So the letter before the alif mad will be prolonged for 2 seconds only. Right, here we have a ya mad. So a ya carrying a sukoon sign. The letter before that will be prolonged for 2 seconds only. Okay. I want you to guess what the next rule will be at home and see if you get the next rule correct. Okay, so the next rule is the kha. So kha is a thick and heavy sound, and it will be pronounced from the top of your throat, and you will also have to read with your mouth rounded a bit. Okay, now we have a pause on the ra, and the kasratain becomes a sukoon. And similarly, we have a sukoon on the scene, and there will be a sukoon on the ra. So these two will join together. Right? Now, if we will be practicing these two verses, and if I could have a student to the mic, please.
G2209, please unmute yourself.
Can I have? Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam, G2209. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, and jazakumullah for asking. Let's start with Tauz and Tasniya.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Okay, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. If you could follow me. والعصر
والعصر
إن الإنسان لفي خسر.
إن الإنسان لفي خسر.
Very nicely read. Remember that we have to sit on the noon here for 2 seconds, do a bit of ghunna, and similarly we will be staying on the noon here and doing a nasal sound with this noon. Okay, so we have to make sure that we stay on these two a bit. Also, it's very difficult not to do a jerking sound after this ra, but we have to make sure that we don't make a jerking sound here and here. So let's just go through it again, and we will try not to make a jerking sound. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal Asr.
Wal Asr.
Innal insana lafi khusr.
Innal insana lafi khusr.
Very nice, very nicely read. Do you want to try again yourself?
Okay. Wal Asr. Innal insana lafi khusr.
Very nice. Remember to read the ayn from the middle of your throat as well. Okay, so ayn. Okay. Jazakumullah G2209. Very nicely recited. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Okay. I will carry on and do the rules for the next verse. And the first rule here is the lam mushaddad, and we will we will join the alif to the lam because this is the most recent letter which carries a stroke, and we will press on it because it carries a shadda. And the next rule is another lam mushaddad, and it will be joining to the most recent lam, which is this lam here, the mushaddad lam, and any letters in between, the alif he and the alif he, will be ignored because these two, they don't carry any strokes. So the recent mutaharrik letter is this lam. So this lam will be joined to this lam. Actually, this lam will be joined to this lam. Okay. Again, because it's a mushaddad letter, this lam we will be pressing on it, and then we will read the fatha because it carries a fatha. Okay, so the next rule is the ya mad. Ya here carries a sakun sign, and the letter before, the previous letter, carries a kasra, and it will be prolonged for 2 seconds only. Okay, now we have an alif here which carries a vertical fatha. So we have to make sure that we don't read it as an ayn. We don't make the ayn sound, and because of the vertical fatha, we will be prolonging it for 2 seconds. Right. The next rule is our waw mad. We have a waw which carries a sakun sign, and before that, just preceding that, we have a noon which carries a dhamma, and this means that we have to prolong the noon for 2 seconds. Okay, so our next rule is the ayn, and it will be prolonged, it will be pronounced from the middle of your throat, ayn. Okay, here we have sad mushaddad, and it will be joined to the most recent mutaharrik letter. Let's see, before the sad we have a lam, it doesn't carry any stroke. Then we have the alif, that doesn't carry any stroke. Again we have an alif, it doesn't carry any stroke, and a waw, and it doesn't carry any stroke. So this lam here carries a zamma, so it will be, this lam will be joined to the sad. All the letters, all these 4 letters in between will be ignored. Also, sad is a thick and heavy letter. It will be pronounced with your mouth rounded a bit, and we will not pronouncing it as a seen, but a sad. Okay, the sad here carries a vertical fatha, which will be prolonged for 2 seconds. Okay, and the ha will be pronounced from the middle of your throat, ha, and again, the ha carries a vertical fatha, and it will be prolonged for 2 seconds again. Okay, so here we have an alif mad, and before that we have a waw which carries a fatha, so the waw will be prolonged for 2 seconds. Right, we have a sad here which has a thick sound, heavy and thick sound. You have to read it with your mouth rounded a bit, and not to read it as a seen. Okay, this is waw lean, and the waw carries a sakun sign. It's waw sakin, and before that the letter carries a fatha, so this means the sad here will be prolonged for 2 seconds. Okay, here we have lam sakin, and it will be joined to the ba. This because ba is the most recent mutaharrik letter, and alif does not have any strokes on it, so we will be joining the ba to the lam. Okay, now here, we are allowed to pause here if we want to. If we pause here, the kasra, just under the qaf, will not be read. Okay, so this will become a sakoon sign. Okay, but if we carry on, then and it will, sorry, we will not be pressing on the qaf, because there will be a there will be a sakoon sign. Right. Just okay. So the next rule is the alif mad here, and just before the alif we have a waw with the fatha, so the waw will be prolonged with the waw will be prolonged for 2 seconds. Okay, so swad again, we will have a thick and heavy sound, and not to read it as a scene. Here we have a waw lean. We will be prolonging it for 2 seconds. The swad here will be prolonged for 2 seconds, and 2 seconds only. Okay, now we have swad mushaddad, and the swad mushaddad here will be joined onto the ba, because these two letters here do not carry any stroke. So swad here will be joined to the most recent mutaharrik letter, which is ba. And we have to make sure, because it is a mushaddad letter, we have to make sure that we press on it. Okay, so again we have it has a heavy and thick sound, and not to pronounce it as a scene. Right, there is a pause on the ra, and the kasra becomes a sakoon, and sakoon follows a sakoon sign, which means this ba here carries a sakoon sign, and this ra will be read as a sakoon sign, so ba will be joined onto the ra. And we have to make sure that we join all these letters properly. So ba with sod mushaddad, and then sod mushaddad with ba, and then ba with ra sakin. Okay, let's practice this verse now. If I could have a student to the mic, please.
G2185, please unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum, G2185.
Walaikum assalam.
How are you today? I'm very well, alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah for asking. Let's start with Tauz and Tasmiya. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق.
إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق.
Okay. If you could please come a bit closer to the mic, please. I can hear you properly. وتواصوا بالصبر.
وتواصوا بالصبر.
وتواصوا بالصبر.
وتواصوا So sub.
So
So December.
very nice. Okay. Just make sure that you did pronounce the va a bit. You prolonged it for a bit, for 2 seconds. So we don't have an alif mad here, but we have an alif mad here. And you did read this for 2 seconds, which was very nice. This was a bit longer. So this is why it might have been a bit difficult for you. Also, we have to press on these two lams properly because they are both mushaddad. Illalladhina.
Illalladhina.
Very nice. Now I can hear it. And making sure that we pronounce this ayn from the middle of your throat, okay? Amilu solihati.
Amila solihati.
Very nice. I could hear that you read the sword here for with your mouth rounded. So you read it thickly, which was very nicely read. What type of letter is the ha here? Ha.
Throat letter.
Very nice. And you read it correctly as well. Okay. And this qaf here, what kind of letter is this?
Thick letter.
It's a thick letter. Very nice. And it's a throat letter as well. So you have to read it with the throat a bit as well. Okay. And if we do a stop here, what do we do with the kasra?
We change it into.
Yes, we change it into this sign here, which is a sukoon sign. Very nice. I think I know you meant this sign. Very nicely read, G2 185. Jazakumullah and Allah Hafiz.
Allah
Hafiz. Okay, now I would like to have a few more students so we can practice this surah.
G2137, please unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum, G2137.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well and Jazakumullah for asking. Let's start with thousand tasmiyah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Wal asr.
Wal asr.
Okay, make sure to read this ayn from the middle of your throat. Wal asr.
Wal asr.
Okay, that was better. Innal insana lafi khusr.
Innal insana lafi khusr.
Very nice. So you did prolong the ya mad here and the alif mad here. Very nicely read. Just make sure that this is a noon mushaddad. So whenever there is a noon mushaddad, we do a bit of, we sit on it and we do a bit of ghunna. So innal. We stay on it for 2 seconds. And then this noon sakin, we do a nasal sound and we stay on it for 2 seconds as well. Insana. That's it. Very nice. Would you like to have a go reading it yourself?
Well, sorry, can I do that again?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Well, asr. Innal insana lafi khusr.
Very nice. Very nicely read. So you did prolong this for 2 seconds and sat on it, and I could hear the nasal sound here, and you did read all the mads correctly. Very nice. Just practice a bit with your ayn. I know it's a bit difficult to read the ayn from the middle of your throat. If you practice, you will inshallah, you will be able to read it properly. Jazakumullah G2 137. Very nicely recited. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
I could have another student, please.
G2139, please unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum G2 139.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine.
Okay, so let's start with 1000 tasmiyah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Okay. إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق.
إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق.
وتواصوا بالحق.
وتواصوا بالحق.
Very nicely pronounced. You read it very nicely. I could hear you pressed on this lam and this lam, and you read this ayn from the middle of your throat. Just make sure you don't read the alif from the middle of your throat. This is just read normally. Amanu.
Amanu.
Very nice. So this is the ayn here, which we read from the middle of our throat. Let's carry on and finish this verse. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ.
وتواصوا بالصبر.
Very nice. بالصبر.
بالصبر.
Very nice. Okay, so I could hear that you read this sword here thickly, which was very nicely done. Also, this sound, this sword here, was you rounded your mouth to read it because it's a heavy and thick letter. Right. So, why do you think we prolonged this wow for 2 seconds?
Because it has an alif mad.
It's very nice. So there is an alif mad here. So which means the letter preceding it, the letter before it, we will have to prolong it for 2 seconds only if it carries a fatha. Okay. So this carries a fatha. We will be prolonging it for 2 seconds. Very nice. Why did we prolong this for 2 seconds?
Because that's a wow mad.
It's a vowel, but this means that if the vowel carries a sakun sign and the letter before it carries a fatha, the letter before will be prolonged for 2 seconds, will be joined onto it and then prolonged for 2 seconds. Okay, so very nice. Also, why did we prolong for this letter for 2 seconds? This alif here.
Because it has a vertical fatha.
Very nice. You know all your rules. Do you want to have a go yourself at this verse?
Yes.
Okay.
إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق.
Yes.
وتواصوا بالصبر.
Very nice. You know that this is a wow mad and you have to prolong this for 2 seconds as well. You did prolong it for a bit, but I would have it if you could prolong it for a bit longer. So it's clear that it's prolonged a bit longer than the 1 second count. Okay, also, could you read from this bit here to this? So from could you please read this for me again?
Aminu salihati.
Okay, very nice. You know that this is a lam. Amilu solihati. Okay.
Aminu salihati.
Lu. This is a lam here with a vertical, with a dhamma. So amilu so.
Wa amin lusso.
Very nice. So make sure when you try to memorize this surah, make sure to memorize it with the correct pronunciation. And when you read it with the correct pronunciation from the Quran, then you will memorize it with the correct pronunciation as well. Very nicely read, G2 139. I loved your pronunciation. And you read all the thick letters very nicely. Jazakumullah and Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Okay. I would now like to carry on, and we will be doing, we will be either reading Surah Al-Fatiha, Surah Al-Kawthar, or Surah Al-Ikhlas, or Surah Al-Asr, and the student which comes to the mic next, they can choose which surah they want to recite. And if I could have the next student to the mic, please.
G2146, please unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam, G2146. How are you today?
Good.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so you have the choice of reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, Surah Al-Kawthar, Surah Ikhlas, or Surah Asr.
Surah Kusar.
Surah Al-Kawthar, okay. Would you like to recite Surah Al-Kawthar from memory, or would you like to recite, read it?
Memory.
Memory, okay. If you could bear with me 1 second. Okay, bear with me 1 second. Right, so you said Surah Al-Kawthar.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with Thousand Tasmiyah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Inna dina al-Qasr Fasri Rabbika wanhar Inna saniyaka huwal abtar.
Very nice. So let's have a look at the text. Okay, so you read all the waqf very correctly, and you have learned it by heart, which is a very good thing, good achievement, very nice, mashallah. Just one thing, we had a noon mushaddad here. We did go through a few rules, which was this one was one of them. Noon mushaddad, you know that we have to do gunna here. We have to sit on it for 2 seconds. And just on the noon mushaddad here, we have a medium long stretch, a mad saghir, which will be prolonged for 2 to 4 seconds. So making sure that we have to prolong it for 2 to 4 seconds. Inna. That's it. And again, we have an ayn here, and this will be, do you know how we pronounce the ain.
Kalkala.
You close. We read it from the middle of your throat. Okay, ain.
Wine.
That's it. That's it. Okay. And the ta, what kind of letter is the ta here? We will be reading it with our mouth rounded, so it's a thick letter. That's it. It's a thick letter. Right. And we have to make sure that we prolong the bits we need to prolong. So noon again has a vertical fatha. We have to prolong it for 2 seconds. And the waqf you did correctly. As I said, this waqf and this waqf was done very correctly. Also, this waqf was done very correctly. The tha here, it has to be read very softly. Okay. And again, the noon mushaddad here, we have to sit on it for 2 seconds and do a bit of ghunna. Okay. Right. Do you want to follow me reading this, and then you can go try yourself? Okay.
Okay.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
إنا أعطيناك الكوثر.
إنا أعطيناك الكوثر.
Very nice. So أعطينا.
أعطينا.
That's it. And the inna, if you could prolong it for a bit longer, probably another second. Inna.
Inna.
That's it. Okay, let's recite the second verse. فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ.
فَصَلِّ لِرَبِّكَ وَانْحَرْ.
That's it. Very nice. So you rounded the sword here a bit, which was not done very nicely. And the ha here, make sure to pronounce it from your throat. Ha, har.
Har.
That's it. Inna shani'aka huwal abtar.
Inna shani'aka huwal abtar.
Okay, very nice. Again, the noon. It's a noon mushaddad. Make sure to sit on it and do the ghunna. Inna. That's it. And we have to do a little jerk on the ba. Abtar.
Abtar.
That's it. So make sure to read it with the correct pronunciation every time, and then you will learn it with the correct pronunciation as well. So it's very important that we learn it with the correct pronunciation, otherwise the meaning might change. Okay, so make sure to practice at home as well. Jazakumullah G2 146, very nicely recited. Allah Hafiz. Okay, if I could have the next student to the mic, please.
G2149, please unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum G2149.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Alhamdulillah. Right. Which surah would you like to recite? Surah Kawthar, Surah Ikhlas, Surah Asr, or Surah Fatiha?
Surah Al-Asr.
Surah Al-Asr. Okay. Okay, let's start with 1000 tasmiyah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر No, hold up.
Would you like to recite Surah Asr or Surah Kawthar?
Kawthar.
Right. Okay. From your memory or with text?
With text.
Okay.
Inna atainakal Kawthar. Fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Inna shaniyaka huwal abtar.
Very nice. So you did the waqf very correctly. And just and again, I would like to draw your attention to the noon, which has a shadda on it, which means we have to sit on it for 2 seconds, prolong it for 2 seconds, and do a bit of gunna.
Okay.
Okay, and again here we have the noon mushaddad here. We have to do the same as here. Remember, on this noon mushaddad there is a medium long stretch. Okay, and again the ayn, you have to read it with your from the middle of your throat. Okay, a'tainaka. Do you want to try read the first verse again? Make sure to read the ayn and prolong this bit for 2 seconds, because it's a yaleen and this is a noon. The noon carries the vertical fatha. Okay, and again the kawthar is also, this kaf will be prolonged for 2 seconds. Do you want to try and read the first verse again?
Yes. Inna atainakal Kawthar.
That's it. That was very much better. Just sit on the noon a bit longer, okay? Inna.
Inna.
That's it. Okay. Right. Let's read the second. Do you want to have a go at the second verse again?
Okay. Fasalli li rabbika wanhar.
Okay, very nice. So with the sword here, you did round your mouth a bit, just and you read it a bit thickly as well, just a bit more, so we can hear it properly. Fasolli.
Fasalli.
Yeah, and this lam, make sure not to join it to this lam. Okay, so fasolli li rabbika wanhar.
Fasalli li rabbika wanhar.
Very much better. And the ha here again from your throat. Wanhar.
Wanhar.
That's it. Okay, if you could have a go at this verse as well.
Inna shani'aka huwal abtar.
That's it. Very nice. I'm very pleased you did sit on this noon for 2 seconds, and you prolonged the sheen here for 2 seconds because there is an alif mad. Very nice. Just we have to make a bit of jerk on this part here. Abtar. Okay, so that was very nicely recited, G2 149. Make sure when you recite this surah for the next time, then recite it with the correct pronunciation and the correct rules, and then you will learn it with the correct pronunciation and rules as well. Jazakumullah, G2 149. Allah Hafiz. Okay, if I could have the next student to the mic, please.
G2153, please unmute yourself.
Assalamu alaikum, G2 153.
G2162, please unmute yourself.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam, G2 162.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum salam. How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well, and Jazakumullah for asking. So you have a choice of reciting either Surah Fatiha, Surah Kawthar, Surah Ikhlas, or Surah Al-Asr.
Surah Al-Asr, please.
Right, let's start with Thousand Tasmiya. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.
Very nice. I'm very pleased. Mashallah, you recited this very correctly. You did all the waqf correctly and you prolonged the bits which needed to be prolonged, and you read all the thick letters very correctly. Mashallah, well done. Just
Barakallah.
when you read the alif, make sure not to make an ayn sound. So you did everything correctly. Just for everyone else as well, it is very easily with this surah. This alif is sometimes read with an ayn sound. Okay, so
Okay.
that was very nicely done. Is it okay if I ask you about a few rules?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you prolong this noon for 2 seconds?
Is it because there's shadda there?
Yes, so there is a shadda and we sit on it and we do a gunna. Okay, why did you prolong the scene for 2 seconds?
Because there's a joint alif afterwards.
Okay, very nice. How would you read this bit?
You would prolong it for 2 seconds.
Yes, and the letter, what kind of letter is it?
Sod.
Sod. Okay, so it's a thick letter and we will prolong it. You are correct. We will prolong it for 2 seconds because there is a vertical fatah here. Very nice. Jazakumullah G2 160.
Jazakallah.
Mashallah, very nicely read. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Yes. Okay, if I could have another student to the mic, please.
G2163, please unmute yourself.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam. How are you today, G2163?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, alhamdulillah. Jazakumullah for asking. Which surah would you like to recite today?
Surah Kawthar.
Surah Al-Kawthar, okay. From memory or with text?
From memory.
Okay. Okay. Start with Thousand Tasmiya, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله صمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.
Very nicely recited. So you recited Surah Ikhlas, and I could hear that you prolonged this bit for 2 seconds because this is the name of Alamiya and there is a fatha, the letter, the mutaharik letter before that is carrying a fatha, which means we have to prolong it and round it a bit. Wallahu. So I could hear the rounding a bit. I would have it if you could round it a bit more. Okay. If you could tell me what kind of letter this is.
Sod.
Sod. And how would you read it?
With a thick sound.
The thick sound. Very nice. Which with this letter here, how long would you prolong it for?
2 seconds because it is Walmud.
Very nice. So you read it correctly. Very nicely read. Jazakumullah G2 163. Very nicely recited.
Allah.
Allah Hafiz. Okay. I would now like to carry on with our next agenda. Just I would like to do a few announcements. There is a mother and teacher consultation, which is tomorrow, Tuesday 23rd or 23rd of March, and it will be from 6:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. And we would like to have some feedback about G2 Quran course in class. Also, if you have any suggestions, you could bring it forward as well. And we have a Jalsa Masih Maud alayhi salam on Thursday, and it's the same time as our usual class, and there will be quiz questions which will be posted to the WhatsApp group, and please prepare for the quiz. For no one has yet been selected for participation, and the judges will make an announcement today, inshallah, make a decision today. So you will, inshallah, be notified today or tomorrow. About our class today, I would just quickly like to summarize what we did today. So we started off with our dua, and then we went through some of the rules of Surah Asr, actually all of the rule of Surah Asr, and then we had a practice. After that, we read Surah Kawthar, Surah Ikhlas, and Surah Asr. So that and Surah Fatiha. The student had the choice to recite any of the surahs, and some students recited from memory, which was very nice. Again, I would like to remind you to recite all the surahs you are trying to learn from memory, recite them with text, and then with the correct pronunciation and correct rules, and then you will learn it with the correct pronunciation and the correct rules as well. Okay, now let's go on to our homework for today. Homework is Surah Al-Asr. Practice Surah Al-Asr, which we did today, the rules we did today of Surah Al-Asr. And for extra practice, we have Surah Al-Fatiha, Surah Al-Kawthar, and Surah Al-Ikhlas. So practice those with the correct pronunciation and correct rules. And I would now like to do the ending dua. And if I could have a student to the mic, please.
G2171, please unmute yourself.
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum 171. How are you today?
I'm good.
Alhamdulillah. Let's start with Thousand Tasmiyah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. G2171, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you recite the Thousand Tasmiyah, please?
Yes. Prayer after reciting the Holy Quran. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Very nice, Tilawat. If you could follow me. Allahumma rahmani. Bil-Qur'an azim.
Bil-Qur'an al-Azim.
Very nice. Could you read the translation here, please?
Yes. O Allah, have mercy on me through the Quran, the Great.
Very nice.
Thank you, Jazakallah.
Jazakumullah G2 171. And this brings us to the end of our class. Jazakumullah for attending. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.